We're still right. We're still doing the Mishnah beginning of fifth perek of Pirkei Avoth, Ba'asara Ma'amarot. We explained the idea of the world being created in stages. The idea that the world is getting in the Sheshet Yemei Bereshit, in the days of creation, the world gets more and more perfect till it reaches its ultimate perfection. It doesn't come out at a perfect state. It's not created at a perfect state. It grows, it evolves, it progresses. It progresses. And Sarah Ma'amarot. Now Mishnah told us, Matan Mulomar, why is it telling me that? Hashem could have done it with one ma'amar. Hashem could have done it all with one thing. It didn't have to be 10 different commands. It could all have been one command, like Rambam said. Hashem could have given one command that those 10 stages should happen in a assembly line type of thing. This and this and this and this should Hashem. So rather, he's saying that each one of them Hashem gave its own command, meaning its own reality, its own stage. There is a chashivut, there is a significance and importance to it. Why is that? Lehipara min hareshaim shema'abedin et ha'olam shenivra ba'asara ma'amarot. This will show how grave is the sin of Reshaim that are destroying a world that has 10 ma'amarot. Now Rambam says this, and it's quite obvious. That means the fact that it has so many possibilities, the fact that it has stages, it gives us more power. It gives us more impact. We could do more in this world because the world is created as such. The world is not all imperfect. So we could work in progresses also. We could plan things. We could pull out things. We could have long-term plans, short-term plans. So it gives us much, much more chance of accomplishing, of growing, of getting somewhere. So therefore, that will make the misdeeds so much graver because there's so much more potential of doing right. And liten sachar tov lesadikim. On the other hand, he also increases the sachar of sadikim shemekayimim ta'olam shenivra ba'asara ma'amarot. That they are upholding a world that is quite complicated machinery. It's asara ma'amarot. As they had 10 stages and all that. It is not a simple thing. It has a lot of shades of gray, black, white, and shades of gray. It is a very intricate and very much connected world, and still they are responsible for holding it up, those who do plan and do act accordingly. Good. Let's see what Rambam says. Ba'asara ma'amarot, tistakel b'chol ma sheba b'maaseh bereshit. If you pay attention in everything that Torah records of the creation, vayomer, and we look at the word vayomer, timtzaim tisha. You see that 9 times it says vayomer. Vayomer Hashem yehi or. That's the first time you have the word vayomer. Ubereshit, and the word Ubereshit Asiri, and the word Bereshit itself completes it to be 10. We spoke about that. The very first one doesn't say Hashem said, because it had to that's the burst of creation comes with that, with the concept of time. We explained that's why you cannot say Vayomer. Even though we do not have a command there, we don't have the word Vayomer. Vayomer Hashem yehi bereshit. Hashem said that there should be time. We explained why that would not have been the best way to say it. But at any rate, says Rambam, ha'inyan moreh alav. The fact that it's a creation, it's a command of creation, that is self-evident, Rambam says. You cannot deny that. But Rambam is not coming to answer why. Why Hashem chose to say it like that, we discussed a little bit, but that's not the issue Rambam is talking about. Rambam is saying, you cannot argue with me to say that there was no command, there was no will from Hashem for that first stage of creation, because it's self-evident. Ki'ilu amar vayomer Elokim yihu shamayim va'aretz. The first pasuk talks about shamayim va'aretz. It's as if it says Hashem commanded those to be created. Kilu nihi mi'ulti ma'amar. It's impossible that they came about without a command from Hashem. V'aya yachol lesaper b'riyah kula b'ma'amar echad. So now Torah could have recorded the whole creation with one command. With one command, Torah could have recorded it. Kesheyomar, vayomer Elokim yihu shamayim va'aretz v'yihu rakia. He could have said, Hashem commanded that there should be shamayim va'aretz, and then there should be rakia, a space, v'yikahu hamayim. All the waters should gather and create the oceans, and then vegetation. It all could have been one chain command. But when you bring out the detail, you show how many areas of influence, if you will, how many, I don't want to call it interference, but that's what it is. There's so many areas where we were given a chance to determine. In Eretz Yisrael, when I was learning in Eretz Yisrael, Yeshiva was a little bit friendly with someone who was married into the Soloveitchik family, the very, very famous Pirkei Rav's family. Now they're amazing, unbelievable people, and they're all brilliant, and the mind works so, it just, we think it's not human. But I was talking, he said, look, it's not all IQ, it's the way they live. He says they demand their children from a very young age to be very alert of their choices, to be very alert of what, a lot of times we say, I couldn't, I did my best. Did you really exercise all areas of your influence? And he said, you tell your kid, I borrowed this sefer from the neighbor, go return it. And he comes and says, Abba, well, why, I went, nobody was home. So what do you tell him? Thank you very much, we'll try another time.
Right.
He says, by them, it's a chance, such a simple thing. It's already a chance to train the mind of a 5-year-old. So what made you think that they weren't home? Because I knocked on the. How many times did you knock on the door? Right? What really started to give you the idea after the second knock, after the third knock? Did you hear anything? You think it was because they didn't answer, but the fact that all the lights were off, did that play a role into your decision making? Right? So these things that the kid already has in his mind. I mean, it's true. The chances are he never realized it, but it wasn't just the absence of the answer to the knock. It was the fact that he saw the house very quiet, he saw the house, the lights off. And all these things went into your decision-making process. So we all do it, but if you're aware of it, it shows you all the areas where you could, potentially go wrong, but more importantly, in all the areas that I could influence, or the areas that I could think, could the light be off? Could the light be on? All, now you that's a very, very simple, obviously, simplistic explanation, but you put that down into a meeting with a person.
Right? What? A little bit neurotic? Not a little bit, very neurotic.
Depends how you come across to your child.
Because, it sounds like my grandma. Did you do this? Did you do that? Did you do that? How about this? Did you consider this? It's just like a monologue.
Yes, depends. Depends if it's... Look, I've said this many times. In our life, the focus is really what determines rather than what we do. It's always the focus. It's always the focus. And everybody will pick up on it. If you go tell someone you did something wrong, it could be a 3-year-old child. They will pick up if you're trying to put them down, or if you're more future-oriented, you're trying to help them for next day, they will pick up on it. Everybody will pick up on it. It'll change the focus. I don't know if I've said this here, but the most important lessons we have in the Torah that we read this past Shabbat. Talked about Yaakov asking asking his family to set up a monument after the deal with Lavan. We talked about that. Right, so Yaakov, may I please? Yaakov asks, Lavan comes and chases Yaakov. By his own admission, he came for massacre. Lavan says, I came, my intention was massacre. That's what I came for. He himself admits it. But your God scared me out of my wits. Hashem came to his dream. And, okay, so let's make an alliance. Now that I know God is on your side, I'm a very self-serving person, Lavan.
Give me my idol.
Right? So let's make an alliance. We will be allied together. We have a peace alliance. Okay. So they make in, I believe, so as a symbol of their alliance, they erect a monument. They erect a monument. Yaakov Avinu calls it Gal'ed, and Lavan calls it Yegar Sahaduta. Yegar Sahaduta. That's more or less an Aramaic translation of Gal'ed, means monument that bears witness. This monument bears witness that we two are allied.
Is that kosher, what they did?
It's like a signature. You have a peace treaty on a piece of paper. They had a monument. That's what you have monuments. That's what monuments stand for. The French government sent the Statue of Liberty as a monument to America's history of accepting downtrodden people. It's a monument. Okay, now. So when they want to make a monument, they gather rocks. They gather rocks and they erect the monument. So the
Where is this?
This is the end of Parashat Vayetzeh.
No. Which location?
Where is the monument?
Where is the monument? It says in the
Jordan.
border of, right, somewhere around Jordan it would be. I don't know if it's still standing.
In Jordan.
Yeah. Okay, so Pasuk says, this is chapter 31, verse 46. Pasuk says, Vayomer Yaakov le'echav. Yaakov tells his brothers, Liket to Avonim, go gather rocks. We want to erect a monument, we need rocks. So go gather rocks so we could make the monument. The problem is, who is Yaakov talking to? The Pasuk says, he was talking to le'echav, to his brothers. The literal translation is to his brothers. Yaakov did not have brothers. He had only one brother. He had a brother. And that brother was nowhere to be found, even if he wasn't interested in helping Yaakov for sure. Right? So he doesn't have brothers. What is the pasuk talking about? Rashi brings down, what it means is le'echav hem banav, his children. He was telling his sons. He was telling his sons to help out, erect the monument. So you wanna talk to your sons. So tell your sons. Why do you call them brothers?
Right.
Well, what is Torah trying to do? Confuse me? Torah says brothers, and Rashi has to tell me it means his banav, his children. So just tell me children, and you don't need Rashi to. So goes on to say, Shayu lo achim, because at that moment Yaakov was saying, "You're achim, you're my brothers." Nigashim letzara u'melchama alav. That they gather around him, they stand beside him when they are under attack and besieged by war. Right? They were under attack. Lavan came for massacre. Now, Yaakov's children are not that old. Reuven, the oldest, is somewhere around 14. Right? So you're talking about teenagers. Very hard to get teenagers on your side. Right? So, but that's who he's got. That's good. That's who he's got. And Torah tells us an unbelievable idea, and it's so true. It doesn't matter what you do; it matters how you focus to it. Yaakov could say, "Look, I got nobody else. You're the only ones around. I demand of you, and you must help me."
With what?
with anything. Rashi says he wasn't really erecting the monument. Erecting the monument was the Baruch Hashem peaceful solution that came out of this attack. They were already standing beside him, Rashi says, as his fellow warriors. That's all I got, Yaakov said. But that doesn't work. Besides the fact that it's not right. I mean, you want to force it down, it doesn't work. People get very, very much defensive when you try to commandeer them. You want to try saying no. You go and you show them that you are responsible enough. Yaakov says, Echav, you are my brothers. You're like daddy. You are like Abba to stand and protect this family. You're old enough, you're responsible. I know you're just a teenager. But you understand enough, you're mature enough. You don't think you can't help. You are able to help. This is the message here. The message is, what is the focus? The focus, even when you need their help, your first focus has to be for their sake. Yeah, it's time for you to grow up and be responsible. I was once talking, a father came to me, and he was all distraught. He says, Rabbi, Baruch Hashem, we have small children. Some people have children who are close in age, and sometimes it's difficult. It's difficult. So he was distraught. He said, Rabbi, I don't know what to do. I'm losing it. It's impossible in our house. My kids don't clean up after themselves. They don't pick up after themselves. It's like, the whole day my wife, and when I can't go home from 6 o'clock to 12 o'clock, we're just picking up and cleaning up their messes. It just, I can't. I'm on my wit's end. So I told him, and I said this purposely. I continued to explain to him, but I just wanted to grab his attention. I said, look, they are not responsible to help you. You need help, go hire help. You're complaining to me that your children are not helping. They're not. Where does it say that children's job is to help the parents? You want children because you have too much work? So go hire help. Why should they help? So he looks at me in big surprise. Rabbi, you're telling me a kid, according to Torah, a kid should not clean up after themselves? I said no. The kid must clean up after themselves. What I'm telling you is, you got it all wrong. Your focus is wrong. Your primary focus is that you and your wife are overworked. And if you weren't overworked, you didn't care about this. That is a wrong approach. The reason you want your kids to clean up after themselves, because if you don't teach them, part of your job as a parent is to be mechanech them, to train them to be responsible people. If they don't learn responsibility now, they end up being 17, 18, 19, 20, they can't clean up, they can't keep track of, where is my clothing, this and that. And then they, as adults, they will not be, they will have problems, they will have issues. Part of your job and your wife's job as a parent is to focus on them. Now part of that focus is, listen honey, you are old enough, you're mature enough, you have enough understanding, Baruch Hashem, to be responsible for yourself. I need to see you take responsibility for your room. I don't want to clean, I shouldn't clean up after you anymore. Not because I can't do it, I'm so tired, how come you don't help me? I'm not only saying what words you use, I'm saying what your focus should be. Now a lot of times the words we use, reinforce the focus. That really should be your focus. Not because you need help. Because they need to be responsible. That is not right. It's not right. It's not the right chinuch for a child to, open a candy bar and throws the wrapper on the kitchen floor. It's just not right. Not because then me or my wife had to pick it up. Not because of that. If that's your focus, you got it wrong. Because that's not right. What do you mean? We are human beings. We got to be responsible. That's what you teach them. That's what you focus on them. Yaakov told them, you are old enough, you're mature enough to take responsibility. Echav, you in this level, you're not my children right now. You're not children anymore. at least today, in this regard. He didn't come and demand that I commandeer your person for my help. No. I'm elevating you to the status of, we have it in English also, brothers in arm. The brothers in arm. That's this basic expression. So now I believe this to be a fundamental that applies to everything in life. Talking to your friends, talking to your co-workers, talking to your spouse. If the focus is self-serving, then we have a lot of other issues to deal with. Right? Is it neurotic, you ask me a question. But if it's got a little bit of, you know what, that's a chance to help another, then it's much, much easier. Of course, you cannot be on top of them something that they don't appreciate. They have to be at an age, and your request should be such that they appreciate, oh, look, you know what? A very limited and simplistic example. My father showed me a new idea that I never realized. I really, in the back of my mind, the darkness of the room, the darkness of the house also helped me make a decision. He must enjoy it. He must appreciate that now he got something out of this. He cannot be self-serving. Otherwise you're right. It's worse than being neurotic. So I'm not saying that what I said will answer all the neurotic problems. You have to deal with that also. Of course, you cannot be neurotic. But focus will always matter. You always, right? Look, many years ago, my then 4-year-old, I'm not going to say which one, right? They get jealous of the baby, right? Used to climb into the crib, and it wasn't so pleasant, when the baby was there, and a 4-year-old and a 10-month-old. So, he didn't always understand. How fragile little kids could be. So, you tell them a number of times, don't go in the baby's crib. It has very limited effect. Now, one time, I talked to the baby. I said, no, baby, I'm sorry. You can't ask your brother to come into the crib. Your brother was in the crib when he was a baby. Now he's a big boy. He doesn't go into cribs anymore. That did the trick.
What do the babies?
Right? Right. So you, instead of telling him that this is not right, don't do it, bring out the point that the truth of the matter is your 4-year-old, and a 4-year-old understands, or at least is better than this in a way. Is better than this. Show the point to them. Why? Anytime. Of course with children, but it works with our co-workers. Anytime they could do something without a fight, make them understand on their own, you got to take that route. Don't have confrontation. Don't have confrontation. Right? A lot of times our kids do certain things, right? And instead of doing that, just bring them. Look, when you do like this, now your mother, right? When you don't put your clothing here, now your mother, just have them do it themselves. How much more work it does. You see the difference? They will appreciate it. They really will appreciate it. Right? So I think this concept is very important. If you bring him to the level of ach, then you have much more success to deal with. Yeah.
Anyway, it's so interesting. There are like some of our colored brother. They use, hey brother.